Hola, everyone. Sorry I'm a little late. If I'm being perfectly honest, I'm always late to everything usually, and you should see me right before these live streams. It's like a scramble. My wife and kids are here, and they ended up leaving. They went to Target to get some stuff. Oh, it's like, I gotta get everything ready. You'd think I'd have all that done, maybe the day before or something, but I never really do. Uh, can everybody hear me and see me okay? Hey, everybody. Abel, how are you? Hey, there's Radios. Travis is here. All right, KODACHROME, I'm ready. Talk some... yeah, Travis likes to call KODACHROME zombie film. I just want to make sure... Yeah, okay, so obviously everyone can see me. Hey, Mike. Time to reheat my cup of joe. Saddle up to the screen. Heat it up, Mike. It's going to be a good one. Mm-hmm. At least you made it. You did. Hey, Lyle. Good to see you, buddy. Guys, listening today on my drive home from the Evil Dead film. Oh, happy birthday, Lyle. I had no idea it was your birthday. How was that film, by the way? I love the original. Oola. 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 High five. Yeah, you know what, Abel? I'm always late. Some good elevator music. I don't know if you guys ever watch Ben, the Zero Budget Film School, Ben, in the UK, but he did a live stream for a while, and he had a really cool intro. It was a countdown from 10 minutes down to zero, and then some music came on and a fun, sort of a funky intro. Yeah, I know, it's so lame. G5 Power Mac works great. Oh, awesome. Good job. I like the Dawn of the Dead elevator music since we're talking about... Oh, yeah. What a great movie. Need more grains. Grains. Coffee talk. Talk amongst yourselves, Mike. I'll give you a topic. Talk amongst yourselves. See, so hey, I thought you had a date. Managed to find a few minutes this afternoon and check in. I'm glad you stopped by. I really did. I not did, but I really am. Going whiskey this one time. Look at the KODACHROMEs. Hola, hey, Steven. This side towards the screen. I think it's Jeffrey, right? Yeah. Macro. Marco. Macro. Marco, how are you? First time joining your live stream. Sound is good. Okay, awesome. Thanks. Marco, welcome. We have a lot of fun here. It's mainly just good old film chat. Looks and sounds fun. Is the KODACHROME Croplex shoes about the parts of the... Hey, Gordon. Good to see you, bud. All right, listen, kids. I want to show you guys something really quick. I talked about it a couple of live streams ago, and I was really excited about it. But I had a short film that I did a couple years ago with my filmmaking partner, best bud, Jupes, Jason Fregali, and he directed it, and I co-produced with him and another fella, a friend of ours named Javo. It was called Riviera. I think I may have showed the trailer on here on a live stream a couple streams ago, and I mentioned that we got it into the Iowa Motion Picture Awards, which is kind of like Iowa's little Academy Awards. And that just happened last night. And Joops, Joops, my bud, he actually attended. And let me show you, yeah, Riviera, let me show you what happened. Are you ready? Hold on. Give me one sec. Okay. All right. Here is what happened. Whoosh. Yeah, baby! So, you can see the awards there. Script writing. My buddy Jupes, or Jason, and his brother wrote the script and did a fantastic job. Also, Best Director, as you can see there. And then Short film. Best short film. Let me show you the close-up of that. Huh? See those beautiful names on there? Anyway, I'm super proud of that. My partner moved away. Jupes moved away, but, you know, it is what it is. We'll get together and do a film again one day. But until that time, we're going to do some grain or some film media. All of that was shot on video, which I'm super proud of. Hey Julie, thank you for joining, and thank you for the congrats. You're one county away from Iowa. Does that say county or country? You're only one county away. He actually lives in Illinois. He has a house in Iowa and in Illinois now. So he may be nearer to you than you know. Absolutely unbelievable. Congratulations, Mike and Jupe. Thank you, Lyle. Jupes, Joops. You're big. Yeah, I don't know about big time. Yeah, multi-million. We have a script. Jupes and I wrote with another fella. It's a feature film, and we wrote it in 2015, 16. We had a film office. We had it all. We were really involved in filmmaking, and IMAX. Yeah, that'd be nice. And we wrote this script. Beautiful. We made some trips out to. I'm in Florida. We made some trips out to Los Angeles area. Had a lot of, hey Pop, we had a lot of people involved. We had industry professionals, and let me just say that it turned into an absolute nightmare. Film never got off the ground. We still have the film and all the rights to the film, and it can be done for a lower budget, which I'm trying to talk him into doing, because now we have kind of the perfect spots where he's at now. Anyway, with that, we had a lot of acclaim from that little feature film script that we wrote years ago. So one of these days, maybe, hopefully. Michael B on there, that's my stepdad. Everybody say hi to Mike. He is such a good fella. He has always supported me from day one on this channel. He was, I think, my first subscriber, and he comments on every video. So today, I just thought it'd be fun to sort of visit some old reliable KODACHROME. If you know me or you know my history with KODACHROME in recent years, you know that it's probably my least favorite of the Super 8 variety films right now. I really don't know where to start with it other than my trusty book. Other than to just tell you it's long since been discontinued. Everybody knows what KODACHROME is, or you wouldn't be here right now, because KODACHROME is sort of the introduction to color film back in the 30s. And it was beautiful. I shot a ton of it. I'm sure a lot of you probably did too. I shot a ton of KODACHROME movie film. I shot a couple rolls of 35mm still film back in the day, but mainly in the 80s for me. Some in the 90s that I shot KODACHROME. I did usually select the sound film because I always kind of liked having sound, and we were going to shoot a feature film on KODACHROME back in the late 80s as well, and that again never panned out, but that's another story altogether. Old KODACHROME can look good in 16. Old KODACHROME, if you shoot it now in 16mm, doesn't look that good, but it can look. The older stuff, yeah, that was shot years ago. It's very abundant, yes. That's more like eBay listings. Oh, yes, Mike, you do overexpose KODACHROME by 15 stops. Or just hold it up to your scene like that and pull it through the roll like that. No camera needed, just hold it and pull. I got a couple of films that I have loaded up on here that I want to show you guys as a couple of examples. Oh, before I do, you know me. Steven's on here, and by the way, Steven, if you're still here, I just want to tell you that. Let me see, where's he at on here? Yeah, New World Film. Steven's on here. And Steven, I did get your film. Thank you, and I'll take care of it for you. Yeah, there he is. But he sent me something that I talked about. I think was it last week where we did the old formats, or the week before where we did like the lost formats, and I talked about a 126 camera, and they're just little pieces of plastic. And Steven sent me one. I think you used to get these in cereal boxes. Well, a lot of them you could. They were used as promo items. But he sent me this, and this is really cool. But this is a camera. This is my hand, and that is a camera. This is a 126 camera. That, like I say, this is Kellogg's. Can you read that? I don't know how well that's going to come in, but yeah, Kellogg's. And like I say, I'm sure these came in cereal boxes. So what you did was you took, this has already been exposed, but you took an old roll, or a roll, not old, but you took a roll of I keep saying 126. It's not 126, it's 110. 126 is also a pack film kind of like this, but did somebody correct me? Because So you took a roll of this film, which is also equally tiny, and you just snapped it into the back. See, on the bottom of these cartridges, there's a little gear under here, and that gear connects with your camera, and as you wind, it pulls the film. There's not perforations per se in this, but there's a little gear that actually just pulls the film. So you'd snap this little gear that's exposed in the bottom. It would line up with this little gear in the bottom of these little fun cameras. So you would take it and you would just snap it in. So you're actually kind of just holding the camera and your film at the same time. You wind here. I don't want to wind it because there's no film in here. Well, it's developed. I mean, it needs to be developed. But you wind and you look through. Oh, this side. And you push your little shutter release right here on the side, on the front. Or back, rather. Right, the little red button. Anyway, I think it's really cool that he sent that. He was paying attention last week. And I mentioned those. So, thanks, Stephen. Let me put my little note back on here. Okay. Anyway, I thought you guys would get a kick out of that. So, I'm going to set this right over there. It is a funky little thing. Hey, Rimjet. They're crazy little cameras. They sell them on eBay. I had my eye on one. They're like $3 or $4. But they're even better when someone just sends you one out of the blue. So I wasn't expecting it. So thank you, Stephen. Those Minox spy cameras I got too. Yeah, those are cool cameras. I brought one out. The other day. Yes, I will get to it. These. Boom. I have another one somewhere. Those are fun little cameras too. Fujifilm that expired in 2008. I used with my Pentax. Fuji made a decent stock. In fact, Fuji was kind of, I don't want to say the reason that Kodachrome started dying out, but they were a competitor. Photographs of my guy. Oh, it's in the films. Okay, cool. Kodachrome looks amazing if it was processed before 2009. Yes, that's true. Hey, Manny, good to see you, bud. That is absolutely true. But if it's processed by you at home, and it was shot by you, then it's really, really tricky. Okay, so again, everybody knows what Kodachrome is. I'm sure if you're here, you definitely know what Kodachrome is. It was basically hit the market in 1935, and then it was dissolved completely out in 2009. I believe, somebody may correct me, that Kodachrome 64 was the last to go. I think that's the one that left in 2009. For us cine film shooters and Super 8, we lost that in 2005. And trivia, who was the last person to develop a roll, not lab, person to develop a roll of Super 8 film? Kodachrome Super 8 film. Anyway, so there's an abundance of this stuff out there now, and really not a whole lot you can do with it. In reality, there isn't much. You can shoot it. You can. I know a lot of you out there Steve McCurry. What did I win on? Actually, you might want to look that up. I think it was Dwayne himself from Dwayne's that shot and developed the actual last roll. But yes, Steve McCurry. He's the one that everyone talks about. Adrian Cousins, yes. Adrian has done some pretty immaculate things with KODACHROME. I'm not bowled over by the results, but for what he is figuring out, it's amazing. There have been a couple of attempts by a couple different people to get color out of this stuff, and the results have been dismal for the most part. But that machine, I have to tell you, that Adrian is working on, or Bill, is nothing short of amazing. Yes, Julie, I've seen that. That's pretty wild. It's the owner's son, I think. Yeah, his name was Dwayne. Yes, Mike. 35mm film retrievers for films I accidentally rewound too far. Yeah, those things are real easy to use. I use them all the time, those film retrievers. So, yeah, KODACHROME was a completely different monster because there was no dye couplers in the emulsion layers like there is in most film now. Well, all film now, because developers now just simply develop those colors that are in the emulsion. That wasn't the case with KODACHROME, as you probably may or may not know. KODACHROME was essentially a black and white film stock, kind of. And I think that's why it processes so well in black and white nowadays, because color was added to it during processing, and it was a really difficult process, and that's probably why no one's ever been able to really replicate it again with a huge amounts of success. K11, 12, and I think 14 is what they did. K11 was the original, and with K11, I think it was K11, you would process film like this. You guys remember this? KODACHROME 2. Now, I've shot and processed some of this myself in black and white, and it's really tricky, especially stuff like this that has a process before date right there of July of 1973, which, as we all know, that means that this roll of film was probably manufactured in 1971, which also means it's over 50 years old. So the issue with stuff like this in KODACHROME, people ask me all the time, I have an old roll of KODACHROME, can you process it? I get that email all the time. And yes, I can process it, but whether or not you're actually going to get a decent image, usually you won't. It's dependent on so many factors with KODACHROME is so weird now, because although I think it did have good staying power, like any black and white film, it just was never, the stuff that's left over now, we know a lot more about it now. We're more conscious about film nowadays than we were back in the day, because when it's the only thing you have to shoot, you're not that concerned about it. It's like having your phone to shoot a video. When you just lay your phone down and forget about it, and it's, you know, you don't store your phone in optimal conditions. I know that's a weird analogy, but that wasn't the case with Super 8. And a lot of times, when you bought film, you shot it, you sent it off to get it developed, and then you got it home and you enjoyed it. You projected it and had fun with it. But the film that's available now, 99.732% of it, that's true, is not stored in a freezer, or hasn't been stored in a freezer its entire life. This film right here has not been stored in the freezer since 1971. So when you don't store your film in those cool temperatures, you're gonna experience a whole lot of trouble, as I'm going to show you here in just a second. Hey, thanks, Pop. Guy here in Arizona was the last after the lab stopped. Manny, was that? I think that's who, that McCurry guy. Is that who you're talking about, Steve McCurry? I think Kodak got trust busted back in the 50s or 60s for making it. Yes, they did, Travis. That's exactly what happened. And they were basically forced to license out their processing to some bigger labs, which they did. Shot probably was manufactured in 80, if expired in 82. Yes, radios. You can always, it's safe to always add 2 years. I think it was more like 18 months that they used, but I always add 2 years because that's typically what it is. But as I'm going to show you here in a second, here's a roll of KODACHROME that has a process before date of April of 2003. This is what I like to call new KODACHROME. This is another roll of KODACHROME 40 that had a process before date of February of 1977. And this is what I call old KODACHROME. This I just call garbage. This I call old, and this I call new KODACHROME. And this I call sound KODACHROME because that's what it is. This is intermediate. This is right in the middle. You see, they stopped making sound film. I don't know the actual year. Maybe Travis does, or maybe one of you does. This expired in 96. This is iffy chrome, because it's real iffy on whether or not you're going to get a decent image out of this, because it's right on the cusp of, if it was stored well, it's not quite old enough to give you really crap results. If it was stored well, at least at the bare minimum in a 70-ish Fahrenheit home, or ideally in a freezer or a refrigerator, you could probably get decent results out of that. Anything in the mid-90s and beyond, or forward, you're going to have much better luck with than backward. So I have a couple of films that I want to talk about really quick. This is a camera, and this is going somewhere, that was sent to me by a subscriber. He sent me another camera too some time ago, and I did a review on it and sent it back to him. But this is his camera, and I talked about it before. It's a Yashica Super 600 Electro. It's a very simple camera, and I'll tell you whether I hate it or like it when I do the review, and that's coming up, I think, next. That'll be out this week. But what I did, and I thought I'd be cute, and I would shoot some new KODACHROME in it and have that as part of the review. So that's exactly what I did, and here's that new KODACHROME. And remember what I said with new? This new KODACHROME had a process before date of March 2000. So we're talking 98. Remember 95, 96, iffy chrome. 2000, well, that's new KODACHROME. So that's what I did. And you're right, Travis. It typically does come out the best. That's not 2000's KODACHROME, though, even though it says 2000 on it. That's 98 KODACHROME. So I shot the roll right here. My wife and I went over to the just the city park, and we shot it. And here's my test strip. This is what I do when you shoot KODACHROME. We'll talk about developing it in a few minutes. But so I do a test strip, and I go in to about there, right, for 2 minutes. And then I go in to about there for 2 minutes. And then I finish it off, and I go into there for another 3 minutes. So what that gives me is, and I know it's probably a little more general than I should go for KODACHROME. I should do 1 minute increments, but what it gives me is, this is 3 minutes of processing right on top. Right in the middle is 5 minutes, and at the bottom is 7 minutes. And you almost never want to process KODACHROME for 7 minutes. There have been occasions where I have, but you almost never. Oh, cool, Julie. I know a friend of mine, well, I say a friend, he's an acquaintance. I'm doing a bunch of film processing for a movie that he's shooting, a feature film, and they're using this camera. They're crossing over. There's some film and I think some digital, but this is the exact camera that they're using for that feature film he's shooting that I'm doing all the processing and scanning for. Anyway, so I looked at this, and I probably should have went 3 minutes on it, to be quite honest with you, but I went 5, or more like 4.5 in the middle, and here it is. Yeah. You guys can see that perfectly, can't you? Okay, I want to show you. This is only 1 minute long. There's a clip. I want to show you what I got and sometimes what you can expect when you shoot new KODACHROME. Iffy chrome. Yeah, iffy chrome. All right, let me see if I can. There's no music or anything to it. Okay, this is roll 0188. So let's get that ready. right there. All right, so let's look at 1 minute of what I got right here. Now this was just a quick scan and a quick, I didn't do much to it at all. So here's what I got. Again, I don't know if I would have gotten better results if I would have processed it for 3 or 3.5 minutes. Maybe it would have lightened it up. But obviously you can see there's zero detail in anything. No detail in the shadows. I did get something, but I honestly expected much, much better. My turtle friends. By the way, can you guys hear me right now? All I can see on my monitor is the film. Okay, thanks, radios. I thought you could. And there's my mallard friend. Thank you, Julie. Anyway, this is over in 7 seconds. And there's the, what do you call those little flowers that you blow on them and it, yeah, you know, the, we thought it would be a cute scene, but clearly it didn't work out too well. So there's that. So I don't know. It's not always what it seems. Again, now, have anybody ever heard of a fella named Martin Bumgarden? He is Dandelions. There you go. He is that was HC110B formula. Yes, and that was for about 4.5 minutes. That is the new stuff, Mike. But Martin Bumgarden, I call him kind of the authority on home processing Super 8 film. He's so good at it. He's been doing it for so long. Yeah, he's awesome with cameras too. Yes, Julie. But I've had some conversation with him, some text or email conversation, and he made it very clear to me, and he's so absolutely right, that all 4 of these films are probably going to process differently from one another. And it's so hard to wrap my head around that. And it took me years to figure out that you really do have to test it. It's KODACHROME, and it's so sensitive to storage. Not only is it age, but it's storage. He is the bomb, Cecil. Unless you know the history of your film, and by the way, Kodak themselves, I don't know if I did show you guys once, but they sent me 2 rolls of film from the 70s, one KODACHROME, one Ektachrome 160, that have been stored their entire life in the freezer. So I'm really excited about that, by the way. We'll get to that one of these days. So for me to just tell you, if you shoot this and you overexpose it by 4 stops and you process it for 3 minutes, you're going to get images. That's just not the case. It might be a 5-minute process. It might be you don't really want to go too much below 3 minutes, but more than likely you're going to be in the 3 to 3.5 minute range for most all of this film, all of this KODACHROME. But sometimes you're not. Like I say, I processed it for 7 minutes before and gotten pretty good results that I'm going to show you here in just a second. So KODACHROME is such a insanely tricky film. Oh yeah, and by the way, it did come in and does, or did, 16mm as well. There's my 400-foot sealed roll, expire, or I don't like expire, processed before June of 1978. And if you find old 8mm film in the cartridges or the roll film in some old 8mm or those double-8 cameras, chances are, if it's old, it's going to be KODACHROME, because that's pretty much what everybody shot back then. I did the last card I used in my 1218. Did with the last card. Did you overexpose the heck out of it, radios? So anyway, the most important thing to remember about KODACHROME, and I've done some of this as well. I've had people send me KODACHROME. A friend of mine actually had some old KODACHROME that they shot 35mm, and I couldn't really get much of anything out of it. It was exposed years ago. But you can get images, and you can sometimes get halfway decent images out of KODACHROME. I did a video about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, It was kind of a battle or a showdown or a just a showcase of some Kodachrome that was processed before 2002 versus processed before 1979. And it was both K40, and I have to be honest, it was before I was really too keen on home processing Kodachrome, but it was fun nonetheless, and it did teach me one thing for sure, that if it's not stored properly, expect a world of fog. 1977, I guess, is probably when this would have been manufactured versus 2000 probably. So really old Kodachrome K40, brand new Kodachrome K40. So what I want to do is show you the difference with what I got. Now I even wrote some notes. The old 1977 Kodachrome, I exposed it, and I shot this film in my 1014 XLS, one of them, and I metered this film, the old one, at ISO 6. This one shot in the same camera at the same place within, you know, a half hour of each other. I metered this at ISO 12. I'm sorry, not 12, 20. Probably could have gone 12, probably should have, but I did meter it at ISO 20. I know, I was going to ask you about that, Manny, which removes the fog but slows development down. I let my high caffeinol sit for 30. Wow! 36 hours. You let it sit for 36 hours before using it? You're not letting it sit, your film sit in it, right? You let your film sit for 18 minutes? Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, Manny, because I watched your video on that, and I couldn't remember what you used. Let me see if I can pronounce it. Benzotriazole, which removes the fog, and you did a really good job on that. Yeah, you guys try to watch that video. Go to Manny's channel, T.O. Manny's World, and he did a video. It was really cool. Let the developer sit. What does that do? What does letting it sit for 36 hours do? Does it really just marry all of it together? Is that, I'm guessing that's probably what it does. Video, that was a good one. That came out right after the drama between Adrian Cousins and Mike Rosso had. But yeah, that was a good little battle. I think that was that where Mike had his video, the final say or something like that? Travis. Anyway, let me put these other videos up really quick. Okay. All right. Yeah, that was the one. I remember that. Okay, so I'm going to show you now. Bear in mind, I processed these two rolls of film together. These two Kodachromes, which is typically a no-no unless you know they're from the exact same batch. But I did process them together on top of each other in the Lomo. And I processed, these are the ones I was telling you I processed for 7 minutes. Now, I just plucked that 7 minute out of my... This was in January of 2021. And again, I wasn't quite as keen on all of the testing that I do now. Kind of realistic. Yeah, he was trying to discourage people, but it's so abundant, Kodachrome. Why not have fun with it? That's what I feel. Mike was trying to discourage me. Yeah, he was. I think it chills out the potency, allows for better development, but only with high contrast formula. Okay, thank you, Manny. Yeah, if you guys haven't, check out T.O. Manny's World. Try to find that video on his channel. It's really interesting. Hey, Christian. Yeah, I was going to talk about Adrian Cousins. Yes, Adrian. Like we talked about it earlier, he's made some quite some strides. I don't think he's quite there yet with color, but he has been able to get some color out of Kodachrome. I mean, the labs do hate processing that stuff, but I think it's great for people like us who do. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let me show you what happened when I did And again, I just scanned these quick. I didn't do a whole lot of anything, and I think they're even lower resolution. So this is the old Kodachrome. Okay, here's what I got. This is only 1 minute long. Here we go. This is at a little place by me. It's called Sugar Mill Gardens, and you guys have probably seen this before because I filmed there quite a bit. It's very picturesque. This film, this is Kodachrome K40 that had a process before date in 1979, shot at ISO 6 in my Canon 1014 XLS. Travis, I remember that. So you guys can see the fogging, I'm hoping. Obviously there's zero detail in any of the shadows. Katie, hey, hello. Yes, Kodachrome, we are here. This is really old, fogged up Kodachrome with zero detail. And very dark. Now I will say, all right, that's it. So I will say that the darkness probably also has a little bit to do with the fact that I processed it for 7 minutes. If you process your own Kodachrome, if you process your own film, or if you Kodachrome especially, you know that for every minute that you go over what it really needs, it's just making the negative more and more dense. So processing it for 7 minutes, this roll here was definitely not the right way to go. I should have done 3 to 4 minutes on that, and maybe 5 to 7 on this. And this is the last one I'm going to show you, and then we're just going to talk and have a good time. Talk and have a good time. Wasn't that a song? But this was the one that I shot right after this one. Same day, same time, same camera. ISO 20. Let's do film number. Let me select it first and stop it. All right, here's the next one. Let me start it. Okay. Now, as you can clearly see, I mean, Kodachrome can be a viable option for black and white. There's no doubt. There's a lot more detail in this particular film. Again, Canon 1014 XLS, metered at 20 ISO, Kodachrome, process before date of 2002. And this is what I've grown to expect out of what I call new Kodachrome. 10 seconds left in this little fun film. (1979) 2002. Huge difference. I feel like even if I would have processed this for a shorter amount of time, we're still going to have issues. I think it. I mean, you could tell it was really foggy. Now, maybe I should have taken Manny's advice and used some of that delicious benzolamine and I don't know what it's called. I can't remember. But night and day difference. Night and day. You can use any kind of developer. Any black and white developer will develop Kodachrome. Some is better than others. And like Manny said, high contrast is probably the best because you're not going to get a lot of natural contrast out of this film anymore. And you can always bump that in post, which I do most of the time. It does look like foam and pan. And I got to tell you, you can use it as a decent black and white film. The problem is, yeah, Abel, thank you. The problem is you don't really know until you shoot it. So do you use it on a project like the Film Fest that we got coming up? Do you choose to use new Kodachrome as your black and white because it's cheap? I don't know. I tried it. You saw I tried my new Kodachrome and it came out terrible. But that particular one I just showed you, I thought came out pretty darn good. Yeah, the new stuff, man, some of that stuff, and I have some, I think, that expired in 2004 or 5. Expired, there I go again. I don't like to use the term anymore, expired, for film. Because to me, expired is for milk and bread. You don't drink milk when it looks like cottage cheese, and you don't eat bread when it looks like the front yard. 2000s KODACHROME. Keep that in mind. They're not charging Pro 8 or FPP. Yeah. That's the problem sometimes. Yeah. Imagine a category where only film older than 1980 is used. Can you imagine that? And if you're going to use Ektachrome, like I said last week, if you're going to use the Ektachrome 160, try to get process before date 1985 or forward, onward. Because anything prior to that, in 1982, they changed their process. When they started, they went from EM24 to EM26, and you want EM26. So, and look for their process before date to be. You might be okay with 1984, but I like to stick with 85 and beyond, and that's for the Ektachrome. With KODACHROME 2000s, you'll be safe, probably, maybe. And remember, always err on the side of under-processing it. Because as soon as you go a minute over, boom, your film's black. If you're doing it as a negative. You can process this as a reversal film. And Adrian is good at that as well. And I think, can't remember, but I feel like Manny was, was experimenting with that as well. I've tried many times to process as reversal. I don't want to get into the really caustic and disgusting reversal bleach chemicals. So I've tried many times with the peroxide and the the acetic acid, and I just don't have much luck. KODACHROME 40, but K25 is off over. K25 can be a good film, yes. And I have some 100-foot rolls, I believe, in 16mm of K25. Iffy-chrome. It's all Iffy-chrome. That might be, you know what? I'm going to make a shirt. Iffy-chrome. Iffy-chrome. Maybe a yellow shirt. Expired Tri-X is usually a good bet. Radios. I've had good luck with it. It can start ghosting a little on you, but I'm telling you, black and white film has such good staying power. It really does. Ferric chloride. Elaborate, Manny. What is that? I mean, I'm always up for an alternative bleaching option for black and white film to make a reversal. Hate stop bath. It smells awful and it will curl up the nags on 35, making it difficult to scan. I don't use stop bath. I was making my own. You can just use vinegar and water. But I quit using it altogether. I always use a really good wash bath. The only time I've used stop bath was with KODACHROME roll. Yeah, I don't use it at all anymore. Not with my ECN2 stuff. I did do your ECN2 film, by the way, Travis, last night. And it's still hanging. So I'll get to that later. It's board etcher. Oh, really? Board etcher. For the, that's interesting, Manny. Has anyone ever used that before? Yeah, your loop fail. I can see it, by the way, Travis. I can see the loop fail in a lot of the film. It just blurs a lot of the frames. Some of it looks okay, but I haven't scanned it yet. Ammonia wash. Okay. You got to do a video, Manny. We got to see. Perfect that and do a video for us. I'd love to see what you got going on there. Because I'd love to be able to do some reversal. And I know you can use a peroxide and acetic acid mix, heat it up, and I know there's some formulas and some processes for that. I just don't have any good luck with it. I've tried 3%. I can't find 9% peroxide, which I know is what a lot of people recommend. I do have some 12% peroxide as well. I've tried that with pure acetic acid. Nothing. I get nothing out of it. It just doesn't seem to work. Never had a problem with stop. With stop bath, Katie, I think that's what you're saying. Yeah. I need to see Manny's stuff. Take a look at it, Mike. He's got a fun little channel. I have some 35mm film trailers for you whenever you get. Yeah. We won't talk about the Mark II scanner right now. Yeah, that's all. We'll leave it there. Kid over at Analog Resurgence made a reversal for stills. Been trying out for a motion picture film. Oh, okay. Noah over there. Analog Resurgence made a reversal for stills. Yeah, I'd love to see how that works out. An old Kodak I've had since '98 or so. Maybe it went bad. The stop bath, maybe. Yeah. I think stop bath is mainly just acetic acid and water, is it not? Because acetic acid is sort of just vinegar. Craft work. Hey, buddy. Hey, Mike. All mics and non-mics are here. All the mics and non-mics. Yes, there's one of our mics. Speaking of one of your mics, hey, if you guys think about it, hit the... Why did I think of Mike when I thought of like? The little... If you take a second, hit the little button for me. Mics of the world unite. Yes. Maybe the new Mark II scanner is inside of the building in Orlando. The i4 eyesore. That's been under scrutiny. Yes, maybe it's in there. I don't know. I don't know. Sure wish I knew. Family used to buy slide film from a company, Dale Labs. I remember Dale Labs, absolutely. Used to load their own rolls made for them. Yes. It's a Mike world. I do remember Dale Labs. I wish they were still around. There was another one called Continental Film Labs down in Miami that did cine film. They did, this was in the 80s and maybe the 90s. Miami area, I believe. And I think they're still around, but they do nothing with film anymore. People are getting out of film, but I think it's starting to resurge a little bit. That's kind of what I had for KODACHROME. I don't give up on it. I'm not giving up on KODACHROME. I think I may have said that in a couple videos, but I'm definitely not giving up. I just don't, I can't imagine using it for anything that's, that's important. Save for maybe, something that expired, or there I go again, that was processed before maybe 03, 04, 05. If you're lucky enough to get, they discontinued it in 05, so if you're lucky enough to get one in 06, 07, I've seen 06, I don't think I've ever seen 07. Oh, is Dale still around? I did not know that. So, I don't know, what's the newest new KODACHROME that you guys have ever seen or had your hands on? I'm guessing that processed before 2007 is maybe not out there. I don't know when they discontinued it in 2005. I feel like June, but if it was late 2005, there's a chance that there's some process before 2007. I don't know. 1988. Good kicking back with you guys. Got a dip. Have a great day. Take care, Manny. Thanks for stopping in. I think a reverse engineered color process for KODACHROME might become a thing again at some point. Who knows? Since years. Well, Kodak talked about it, Mike. Kodak actually brought it up in 2017, and they tossed around the idea of bringing KODACHROME back. And then they eventually, like their camera, ditched the idea altogether. I don't think it's coming back. I think the process is way too difficult. It's way too involved. I don't think anyone's ever going to get it just right. I think Adrian is probably going to be the closest, but I still think he's pretty far off. But if anyone can do it, I think it would be him. He has I'll say it, he has a hell of a machine that he built that I would love to get my hands on. It looks gorgeous, especially seeing how even Polaroid is. Again, I have to reverse engineer tech, but maybe Kodak found cheaper. Adrian's results are amazing. Yeah, he does pretty good with all his film processing, Mike. Yeah. Polaroid actually, was it the Impossible Project? Somebody from a few of the engineers from Polaroid ended up, I think they purchased the building and some of the old machines, and they tried bringing it back to life. And they did. They ran with it for quite a while. In fact, I sold quite a few Polaroid 600 cameras to the Impossible Project. And then I think they eventually sold back to Polaroid, who is now manufacturing film once again. 2 rolls of K40 back in 06. That was my first time shooting Super 8. Got them developed in, yeah, Switzerland. They were one of the last people to develop. They weren't the last, Dwayne's was, but at one point they had to send your film to Switzerland, which then went to Dwayne's or something, I believe. Yeah, it was definitely the Impossible Project. They had a good thing going. The problem with Polaroid was that the film just didn't last. Great story, Polaroid. Good documentary is out now about the Polaroid. I did not know that. I'd like to see it, Mike. They were the last hope. Yeah, Dwayne's. It was Dwayne's or nothing. Yeah. And I've used Dwayne's before. I think we all probably have without knowing it. You take your film to Walmart or Kmart or wherever, and it would go to Dwayne's in a lot of cases. Anyway, that's about all I have for right now. We're about an hour in. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I've been losing my voice a little bit. I've been getting a lot of allergies. It's allergy season. So they were very expensive. Actual Polaroid, especially. Yeah, it's real Polaroid. It's very expensive now, too, and they're only 8-packs instead of 10. Kind of got kicked out. I didn't know that, Mike. I didn't know they kind of booted him. Oh, Abel. Thanks for pointing that out. I was late. Motion film that Kodak makes still. Well, they still make Vision stock, and they still make KODACHROME Kodak currently. And they make a couple of black and white stocks. They make 7222 and 7266 in black and white. And I know they make Vision 3 50D, 250D, 500T, and 200T. I think that's about it. And then KODACHROME 100D. I think that's the only motion picture stocks they currently make. But I was talking to my buddy that works at Kodak, and he feels the same way I do. It would be nice if they would offer at least one more black and white stock. I'd love for them to bring a Plus X back to the Super 8 world. I mean, that would be so amazing. Not that I don't like Tri-X, but oh, it would be so nice to have a Plus X. And Double X is okay in 16mm, but I love Plus X. Hey, Russell, thanks for popping in. First one was a bust. Vidicom tube cameras I got from eBay. Well, I wish they would just make, I honestly wish, Mike, that they would make just regular 8 film again. Kodak. Man, if they made, can you imagine if they made 100-foot reels of Kodak Vision 3 8mm stock? Gosh, that'd be awesome. Yeah, Travis, Plus X, I mean, I don't know if there's ever been a better black and white film. Vision, yeah, I knew what you meant, Mike. It is the grunge 90s. It's so crisp. It's a slower speed. All the black and white film they have now, it's like 200 speed. I just like a slower speed black and white film. I don't know, Mike. I think does FOMA do a black and white? I know you can get some black and white from FPP, or some, dare I say, regular 8 from FPP. Plus X lasts forever. You're right, KD. Always. I love Plus X. And I have a whole ton, I was going to say a whole fuckload of I'm looking at it down on my floor right there, of 7231 and 200-foot loads. Tons of 200-foot loads of it. Which I love. 7231 is probably one of my favorite stocks of all time. Right alongside 50D. I think Orwo. Orwo does make, they make regular rate film. I did not know that. Wait. Orwo, are they the ones that are making the new color stock too? That's not been a big hit? There is a lot of it on eBay, yeah. Faithless Insomnia. Great 1990s black and white 16mm music video on the 90s. I gotta check that out. Is it on YouTube? I'm gonna check that out. Thanks, Mike. Oh, cool. Okay, thanks, Steven. They currently have some Plus X and 16mm mags. I know they were out of those mags for quite a while, and somebody was telling me, I can't remember who, maybe it was Barry, was telling me that they run out. People don't send them back. So, you know, those mags, they don't make those anymore, those 16mm magazines. So FPP wasn't able to offer their package deal with those magazines because they just weren't getting them back. Okay, good, Mike. I'm going to check that out. I'm going to write that down. Faithless Insomnia. What was that shot on? I'm just writing that music video down. Okay. Noted. F64D. Oh, I love that film stock, Trav. Yeah, okay, so Mike, it was Orwo's color stock. Very bad reviews. And I've seen some of the footage in it, and it just doesn't look very good. I was hoping for, it would be nice because it was inexpensive. Russell, is that a cine film you have, or is that like 120 or something? Because I have processed Super X panchromatic film before, but it was in 120, I believe. Oh wait, no, I processed it in 16mm, and I have had luck with it. But I have to look. I don't have it in front of me. I have to look and see what my times and tenths were. Fuji motion picture films like it. Yeah. You do shoot a lot of Fuji. Delay my purchase of P&H 16mm camera. Black and white and color. But it's film though, huh, Mike? I gotta check it out. Curious. Anyone know if the current price Arri SR3 or XTR production? I see them go for so much money. Wonder, you know, Marco, that's a really good question, and I don't know. I shouldn't get into too much about it because it gets me angry. But the prices are so inflated. I should have gotten my hands on either an SR or an XTR or just an Aton standard regular 16. I mean, just as early as 5 or 6 years ago, you could have got them for a couple $1,000, and now it's ridiculous. So I don't know what's reasonable for them anymore. I personally can't imagine for an SR3, I mean, I would not pay more than, you know, 5 to 8 for one. Same with an XTR. I just can't. I can't imagine. They're going to come down in price again. If they use formulas for the old original East German formulas, yeah, would not compete with Kodak stock. No. Okay, Russell, send a 88. I processed quite a bit of it for a guy who sent it in to me. It's on my channel, and it was Super X. And I've gotten some found film Super X film before that came out relatively good. I would overexpose it a little bit if I were you, maybe by a couple stops. Even the the French Aton 16mm cameras and eclairs. The eclairs you could have gotten for $1,500. You know, 1,000 to 15. They were in the CP16 range, and I never did pull the trigger on one of them either. Yes, Mike. I was going to mention that the K3s are going up now. I mean, I have two K3s, and I didn't pay more than $350 for either one of them, and now they're in the 7 range. Yeah, 500 minimum, Travis. K3 kit for yeah, 1,500. I mean, or 150 to 200. They'll come down in price. That'd be my. I think they will. I think this is. They were really expensive at one time, and then they just dumped. They took a dive, and they were really inexpensive, and now they're really expensive again because everybody thinks they're cool, which they are, but we're not supposed to tell everyone. But I think people are gonna. I think they're gonna come down because they're just not gonna sell. Russell, if you email me, filmboy24@gmail.com, let me see if I can find some information on that for you. Eclair NPR, forgot about it. The NPR, yeah. And what's the other one? The Eclair. What's the other? NPR. NPR is the more tripodable one. The handheld one is pretty cool. What is that? I can't remember the model number. Now exploding in price. That's available in North America, not in Europe. Yeah. The CP16 I have seen quite a few. Is still at fairly reasonable price though. It was $80. It was in pieces in a box. So there's that. Giving up on looking for a Bolex. Bolex. Don't even get me started on Bolex. Great cameras, but just so inflated prices. Mike has over a dozen. Hit him up. You have a dozen, over a dozen CP16s? You, my friend, are more obsessed than I am, which is a good thing. See, that radios, you talked about that last week. I don't think that's a terrible, terrible price. I think that's where they should be for a good one. $2,000 for a Rex 5, I think, is probably where it should be. H16 Bolex. Oh, okay. H16 Bolex. Still over a dozen of those. That's wicked. All right, kids. Look, I know I was late by a couple minutes. It's now almost an hour and 8 minutes. So I'm going to have to roll. Electronics. I'm lucky to work in an art school where we have some nice 16mm goodies. Perks of the job. Only 3 don't work. That's good, Mike. Yeah, Russell, you are lucky. I'm going to bail. Guys, it was good. And girls, it was good talking to everyone. I love these talks every Sunday. It's not always going to be a specific topic. It may just be a fun chat. I have just as much fun chatting back and forth with you guys. So let's do it again next Sunday. If you're watching this after the fact, every Sunday at 2 p.m. we go live. Try to catch it. I'm just as goofy live as I am on my other videos. Thank you, everybody. Steven, I got your film. I will be getting to it very soon. Just camera obsessed, just like me. I will see all of you. I don't know what that was. On the very next time around. Best stream on YouTube. Thanks, Remjet. Appreciate it. I'll see you next Sunday, hopefully. Peace, everybody. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I know. I'm trying.